My mother-in-law framed me with fake cheating photos and made my husband divorce me. But I turned the tables and unveiled her twisted plot in front of everyone. At a family gathering, my husband handed me divorce papers claiming I cheated based on fake photos. It took months to uncover his mother's plot to tear us apart. So I, 25 female, got divorced from my husband Zach, 27 male, this year over some false allegations. I always suspected his mother was involved, but my suspicions were proven true due to one mistake of hers 6 months ago. I thought Zach had received that information about her too, but to my surprise, he only found out now and is in a big fix. Zach and I had known each other since childhood as we lived in the same neighborhood. Our neighborhood was infamous because many low-income families found shelter there. My parents were facing tough times due to losing their job, so to cut costs, they moved there with me and my younger sister. Zach's family had lived there for a long time. His mother was into substances and hence stayed at her parents' house, leaving Zach in their care with his biological father nowhere to be found. Zach was a senior to me at school and an extremely bright student, so he helped me and my sister in return for me helping him with his chores. This is how our parents got to know about our friendship, which soon turned into a relationship a few years later. Zach graduated and moved out for college. He got some funds from his grandparents and covered the rest with the scholarship. His mother, who nobody knew what she did for work, was always away and didn't even bid him farewell. Zach used to FaceTime me every now and then from college, explaining how things worked on the other side of the city, but the calls started to decrease over time. I made a lot of effort to stay in touch, but realizing there were none from his side, I backed off. Soon after, I got a text from him, and he dumped me via text. Dealing with the breakup of such a long relationship was hard, but I bounced back and worked extremely hard at school. My parents on the other hand had started doing well with their jobs, getting permanent, and it was now a matter of a year or two before we moved out of that place. Zach's mom had been bad-mouthing us all around the neighborhood, accusing us of getting money from doing illegal stuff. After a few altercations with her, my parents decided to expedite the moving process. 3 years later, my college organized a talk with a rising young entrepreneur whose business was booming, and I was asked to moderate the session. When I read the guest list, I realized it was none other than Zach. We attended the talk and went for coffee to catch up. He told me about everything, including how his mother had married an extremely rich man at work who adopted him and funded his business. I told him about my portfolio, and he offered me a job. Considering it too awkward, I declined the offer at first but later decided to join after his repeated insistence. Things were going extremely well for me work-wise, and over the next 6 months, Zach and I grew closer. One night when everyone except Zach and I had left, he proposed to me, saying that he regretted breaking up with me and didn't want to risk it again by just dating. I was high on emotions and said yes. The next day, we informed everyone, but his mother wasn't particularly pleased. He arranged a lunch for us to get to know each other, which ended up being a disaster. His mother was sweet in front of him but made mean remarks at me when we were alone, calling my family and me gold diggers. I reminded her that we left the neighborhood by working hard and not choosing the easy way out by marrying a rich man. I told Zach about his mother's comments later, which he asked me to ignore. Over the next few months, mine and Zach's relationship soured because of his mother filling his ears and him believing much of it. I asked him to trust me if he wanted us to stay together, and after a lot of ups and downs, we eloped and got married. His mother was not happy about missing the wedding but kept up the facade at the reception. Zach and I bought a house and began our married life there. One Sunday, I got a call from my sister asking for some seed funding for her startup. I told her I'd think about it and cut the call. Zach heard me talking and asked what it was regarding. I told him I was going to give my sister some money for my savings for her startup. He offered to pay the amount in full, no questions asked, because we were a family now. I was touched by his gesture and agreed. Over the next few months, my sister's business hit rock bottom, and Zach started to worry about his investment in her project. His frustration was shown in his distant and rude behavior with me at home. The fights over small issues increased to the point where we stopped talking to avoid tension. The stressful state of our marriage peaked when he forgot our first anniversary, and I decided to stay with my parents for a while. Zach and I had planned a small get-together post our anniversary for our family and had already planned and paid for everything, so we decided to act as perfect hosts. I got a call from Zach's mother during this, asking me to pack my bags because she had found the perfect girl for her son. I didn't entertain her and asked her to get a reality check. She obviously didn't like it and cut the call. I returned to my house to set up for the gathering and talk to Zach about his mother. Zach was drunk and didn't respond to anything I said. The next day, the tension between Zach and me was so clear that even my distant cousins asked if anything was wrong. I tried to talk to him, but he shrugged my hand and left. He came back with an envelope, saying it had proof of me cheating on him. I was shocked and decided to open the envelope. It had divorce papers and some inappropriate pictures of me with another man. I couldn't think of how this was possible but still tried to explain to Zach that it wasn't true. He didn't listen and asked me to leave, adding that he should have listened to his mother and not married into a family of gold diggers. I couldn't comprehend it all, so my sister decided to take me, and we left. I went back to my parents' house and cried, showing them the pictures and trying to explain that I hadn't been cheating on Zach and had no idea what these pictures were. They consoled me, and my sister, after looking at the pictures, told us that they were clearly doctored. Everything made sense, and we decided to talk to Zach the next day. The next day, before my sister and I could leave, Zach knocked on the door. I thought he must have felt something fishy too, but instead he was there to ask me to sign the papers as soon as possible. We both sat down, and I explained to him that I didn't cheat and that the images seemed fake because even my face wasn't clearly visible. He listened and then replied that since he had seen the photos, he had lost all trust in me and wanted a divorce. I was taken aback and tried to convince him, but he asked me to sign the papers or he'd file a fraud case against my sister for stealing his money since we hadn't drafted a contract. I could hear my heartbeat in my head and asked him to please sort it out instead of ending our relationship, but he was adamant about ending our association and left. I was shattered but didn't wish to mess with him because of his status, so I didn't read the papers and sign the divorce documents. I also realized I was 2 months pregnant during this, and my lawyer decided to ask for child support from Zach on top of the alimony he was giving me, which I was unaware of. When we came out of the courtroom, Zach came to me and instead of congratulating me on the child, said he was glad we were ending the relationship because we were gold diggers. I was heartbroken by his behavior, so I didn't respond. Over time, Zach and I got civil with each other and decided on shared custody of the child, which Zach was okay with, while his mother started demanding full custody in return for more money. I was done with her, so I emailed both her and Zach that my child wasn't for sale and I would press harassment charges on her if she tried anything again. Zach, reading this, sternly told his mother to stay out of it. I knew the inappropriate pictures were fake but had no idea who could have created it or planted them until I heard from a friend of Zach's that his mother was trying to convince him to get married to a girl in her circle. Zach was pretty bummed out about the divorce and ignored his mother, but now everyone knew how desperate she was because she showed up at his office daily for the past 2 to 3 weeks. On hearing this, I put 2 and 2 together and realized it must be my mother-in-law who created those images to create a rift between me and her son. On one hand, I was infuriated by her and wanted to get even, but on the other hand, I wanted to not let it bother me for the sake of my child, so I decided to let it pass until the right moment. 6 months into our divorce proceedings, I received an email from my mother-in-law. It was sent to the girl my mother-in-law was trying to get Zach to marry, and she accidentally added my email. The email was a plan to get all of Zach's money with instructions to this new girl on how to woo him because my mother-in-law was on the verge of divorce from her husband and knew Zach wouldn't finance her extravagant lifestyle. She signed off with her number, so I called her and asked why she would do something so cruel to her child. It took her some time to catch up, but she wasn't scared, saying I could tell Zach whatever I wanted and he still wouldn't believe me over her. She had a point, so I dropped the call and forwarded the email to Zach. I even tried calling him, but he didn't pick up, so I assumed he must have read it and just didn't wish to talk to me. In the next few months, the divorce proceedings continued, and I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Zach was extremely supportive from afar and set up a trust fund in her name. He hadn't married the girl, and I didn't hear much from my mother-in-law, so I considered it a sign that she was finally out of his life. Time passed, and it was now a year, finally confirming our divorce. I had moved out of my parents' house to a new place and decided to leave the city and start a fresh life after my daughter was a little older. One day, I had an unexpected visitor at my door, Zach. We hadn't talked since the divorce, so it was surprising. His clothes were wet with sweat, and it looked like he had been running. I let him in and asked him why he was there, and he told me he was sorry for what had happened and regretted our divorce because he now knew the reason. I was confused, but he continued, saying he was visiting his mother's house when things were bad between her and his stepdad. He was going through her closet to find a towel and saw the pictures of me cheating. He was surprised as he had never shared those pictures with anyone but me, so he sneakily brought them home. Then he remembered my accusation that the pictures were doctored and got them checked by a photographer friend a few days later, who proved my assumptions to be true. That's when he realized it was his mother's doing and came running to apologize. I began to cry, not because I pitied him, but because I was finally proven innocent. I told him he should have trusted me from the start and that I was amazed when he didn't respond to the email I sent him 6 months ago about his mother. He asked what email. I showed it to him on my laptop, and his jaw dropped. He explained that this was the first time he had seen this email and was currently engaged to the girl his mother wanted him to marry. We both sat in silence, thinking about what to do next. Ultimately, after not talking for an hour, He suggested we could meet once we gathered our thoughts and left. Zach and I planned to meet at my house the next day. He told me he hadn't read the email earlier because it was marked as spam in his inbox. He read it in detail and realized his mother had actually gotten some papers signed by him, telling him it was to ensure she would have some shares saved for our daughter. He thought it was weird but signed to avoid his mother pestering him to marry that girl. He added that he got engaged to the girl once his mother separated from his stepdad and asked him to marry the girl in a drunken state at the hospital because she had gotten alcohol poisoning. Later, when things got better, she got another set of papers signed from him, telling him they were vendor contracts related to his engagement. He read the contracts, and on the face of it, they didn't seem fishy, so he signed. He said he had no idea what those papers were about and was now scared. We both decided it was best to contact his lawyer as soon as possible. Zach's lawyer, who was his stepdad's brother, was amazed at my mother-in-law's audacity to pull off such an elaborate stunt. He sympathized with us but wanted us to know the truth. This wasn't enough evidence against her. I mentioned the email, and he said she could find 100 ways to prove it wasn't hers. The only way to get the papers back legally was a confession from her. Zach and I thanked him for his time and left for our respective houses to think about it and kept it a secret from everyone for now. I knew Zach's mother didn't like me much, so I thought maybe getting under her skin could lead to her confessing her whole plan. I got Zach's approval and called my mother-in-law the next day with the call recorder on. She didn't pick up until the third time and was very rude, asking why I was bothering her. I told her I'd get straight to the point as I didn't enjoy talking to her either and asked why she broke mine and Zach's marriage. She was frazzled and didn't know what to say. I continued, saying I knew she had something to do with it because she was planning to take all of Zach's wealth, and I just wanted to know why breaking our marriage was crucial. After a few failed attempts to laugh, she finally spoke the truth. She said there was no way Zach would consider anything she said while I was in his life. She said he trusted me the most, and breaking his trust in me made him weak and vulnerable, allowing her to get to him. She admitted to getting the images doctored from a friend and sending them to Zach's office. I was sad to hear this but tried to get more details about the email from her, but she didn't say a word, so I cut the call. I sent Zach the audio, and he listened to it and told me about his plan to get some information from his current fiancée. The next day, Zach asked her to meet him at a fancy restaurant since they hadn't been on any dates before the engagement. He started by asking her questions about her family. She couldn't answer the most basic questions about her parents, and Zach got frustrated. He asked her to tell the truth before it was too late, considering how quickly his mother was moving with her plan. She broke and told him she wasn't actually the daughter of his mother's friend but a college girl who met her at yoga class. She said she confided in his mother about her financial struggles. His mother offered a solution: pretend to be from a rich family and marry Zach to eventually get his money. She said his mother talked badly about him, claiming she was the victim whose fortune was stolen by him, which motivated her to get it back. Zach got emotional and offered the girl money for her education if she chose to side with him in exposing his mother. She said she'd think about it and left. Zach dropped by my house after this and told me everything about his new fiancée. Right then, he got a call from her saying she was ready to work with him because she didn't feel okay cheating someone like his mother was cheating him. Zach thanked her and told her he would contact her with a plan soon. I told my sister about all this in the hopes of getting some suggestions, and she came up with a plan to catch my mother-in-law confessing her plans to steal Zach's fortune. I took Zach on a call while my sister described the plan. She said since we had access to Zach's fiancée, who was also his mother's accomplice, we could ask her to set up a private meeting with Zach's mom, asking her to either tell her the details of the plan or get it all revealed in front of Zach. If Zach's mom agreed to talk to her, she could set up secret cameras at her place, recording the conversation and catching her in the act. Zach was on board and asked his fiancée if she was willing to do it. She agreed, and we proceeded with the plan. She, we'll call her Stacy, called Zach's mom and asked to meet up to discuss the plan further but faced objections asking why she was so interested. Stacy said she wasn't sure of Zach's mom's intentions and wanted to be part of the complete plan to avoid being scammed. Zach's mom hesitated but agreed to meet her at her house the next day. They set up cameras behind vases and paintings and waited for Zach's mom. Zach's mom came and sat down. Before Stacy could offer anything, Stacy took the hint and asked about the documents Zach's mom got signed. She asked how Stacy knew about it, and Stacy told her Zach had informed her. Zach's mom replied that the documents were of Zach's property and his bank savings. Stacy asked if that wasn't enough. Zach's mom said to maintain her lifestyle, they needed to do a lot more. She added that her next plan was to get Stacy and Zach married, make Stacy the nominee for Zach's company, and then get Zach killed in an accident so she would get the money automatically. Stacy was shocked but continued asking if such extreme measures were necessary. Zach's mom justified planning his murder by telling lies about Zach. Stacy didn't say much to avoid blowing her cover and simply agreed. She asked for the plan ahead, and Zach's mom replied, "We think about it soon." As soon as she left, Stacy called us and showed us the footage. Everyone, including my sister and me, had tears in our eyes thinking of how horrible my ex-mother-in-law was and how hard it must be for Zach to witness this firsthand. Zach stayed strong and said he had another plan to catch his mother red-handed. Zach, after seeing the video, was sure it was enough to get her caught but wanted to show her true colors to everyone before handing her over to the police. He said since his mother was after his company, he would pretend to give it to her after he died. This way, Stacy wouldn't have to marry him, and he could catch his mother red-handed in front of everyone. We all agreed because it was his revenge for everything he had gone through. The next day, we showed the video to his lawyer and told him about the plan. He was fine with it as long as no one got hurt. According to his plan, Zach called his mother to his house, stating it was urgent. His mother came, and he told her how empty his life had become after divorcing me. He told her he wished to leave the business and everything to live a quiet life in the mountains. His mother tried to change his mind, but Zach said his decision was final and he was going to make her the nominee for his wealth once he passed. Zach's mom was surprised but happy. He said he wanted her to sign some papers before he could start the process and would throw a farewell party to meet everyone one last time after his will was in place, to which his mother agreed. The papers he got signed were those she got signed before, and he got access to them via Stacy. Soon after her meeting with Zach, his mom called Stacy to kick her out of the plan. She said she would pay Stacy once she got the money. Stacy asked what her plan was for Zach, and in excitement, she blurted out how she planned on pushing him down the terrace at his farewell party, thereby owning all the wealth. Stacy informed Zach over text. Zach did all the work. He got the paper signed by her, made his fake will, and planned the whole party for the next month. He set up a light show for his farewell party just to throw the spotlight on his mother when she pushed him. His plan was to cut the lights while he and his mom were on the terrace, then replace himself with a dummy which she could push. He also had night cameras installed for proof later. Everything went as planned. Zach greeted everyone and declared his intentions. His mother followed with a very emotional speech about losing her son. I was invited with my daughter, and Zach's mom didn't miss a chance to make me feel less than her, but I ignored her. By the end of the night, she started looking for Zach to talk privately on the terrace. Zach was conveniently already there, so she followed him. She started with how he was the love of her life and how hard it was to let him go, and then switched to money-focused themes about maintaining her lifestyle. Once we cut the lights, she considered it her perfect chance to push Zach down the ledge. Zach quickly replaced himself with a dummy, and we heard a thud. Zach clapped, and the spotlight was thrown on his mom hanging over the ledge to see if it was Zach who fell. The lights came back, and seeing the dummy on the floor, everyone looked up at her. She was flabbergasted and attempted to run, but Zach caught her and presented her to everyone. He gave a speech explaining everything while his mother continued to throw a tantrum. I called, and Zach's mom was finally taken into custody. After the party, nobody bailed out Zach's mom, including her husband and her parents. She was presented in court soon after, and on the basis of the petition against her from Zach, was charged with attempted murder and financial fraud, to which she pleaded not guilty. Zach's lawyer told him that even though she claimed to be not guilty, with the evidence they had, there was nothing to worry about. Zach's stepdad also finally filed for divorce from her. Zach gave Stacy the money for college and decided to take care of her education financially. He also came back to my house and asked if I wanted to give our relationship another chance. I said no for the time being since he had been through a lot, but assured him he would always have my support. Zach agreed and left. My sister's business had started to flourish, so she returned the money she had taken from Zach. Zach decided to take a few months off from work and went to stay at his cabin in the mountains. I, on the other hand, have started working with my daughter now being old enough, and I'm planning to move to another place for better opportunities.